Hello everyone, this is Jeff. Welcome back. We'll be working on this 2023 Chevy Colorado ZR2 that I purchased brand new back in November of 23. So just surpassed 36,000 miles in the last month. And I noticed a few things just as it hit 36,000 miles. The first thing I noticed was I had a brake wear sensor that malfunctioned right at like 36,000 miles. And it was telling me, the first thing it said was, hey, did you change your brakes recently? Yes, no. And I said, no, I did not. So then it came up again. Hey, it looks like you've changed your brakes recently. Yes or no? And I selected no. And then it reset my brake indication on the front only. The rear is fine. So then it reset it to new. And then, so I shut the system off. You can shut that brake wear sensor off in the menu on the ZR2. So I did that, because it was getting kind of annoying saying that, hey, your brakes, did you reset it? It kept on telling me that. So I wanted to get rid of that. So I decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and change the brake rotors and pads anyway on the front, because they were getting to the point where they were kind of getting a little warped when I push on the pedal, and you could feel the pedal pulsating. So it just telling me that the rotors are warped a little bit. So I'm like, hey, I'll put a new sensor on it and new pads and rotors. So that happened in the last couple weeks, and then I noticed here that it was leaving coolant on the ground on the driver's side. So I got to looking around, and I guess it has an issue with this is pretty common. If you look on the forums, people have had problems with these hoses on this truck weeping. So, and it's been intermittent. So I noticed that this upper hose on the driver's side here, you can't really see it, but if you take a mirror and you look on the back side of this hose right here, and you can see where it's been leaking. Now, you can also tell by, if you look down the fan frame there, you can see like you can see like a white film. Let me get the lighting so you can see. Right there, that is coolant. That's the staining from coolant. So that tells me that this hose has been leaking. So I did purchase this hose new. I have a new one over there on the bench that we'll be replacing. Looks like the hose makes a bend here, and you got a new bracket that comes with the new hose. Then it goes down along there, and then goes along the block, right down in there. As like I said, it's kind of hard to see here. Let me get this camera in there a little better so you can see the hose straight down there. And then it kind of curves around and goes on the back of the block. So I'm going to drain the coolant so we can remove this hose and see how that goes. Let me get this out of here. So here's the new hose I ordered. This is a GM hose, AC Delco. So like you see here, this is the front here, attaches to the radiator. This is the attachment right there by the radiator, and then it looks like it attaches on the block somewhere here, and then this is where the hose goes back in on the back side of the motor. It looks like you can separate it here. I guess I'm not, since the whole thing came as an assembly, I'm probably going to use the whole hose. I guess if you want to just change the front half, it looks like you may be able to. I haven't taken this out of the package yet, but I'm going to go ahead and change the whole hose. But I'm going to go ahead and drain the coolant system, and then while I drain it, I'm going to go ahead and service it with new while I'm here. Now I'm using this ZR2. It's Ford, Chrysler, GM. So it says it's effective for this vehicle. If you go to their website, for effectivity. This comes up. It says GM motor, 1995 to present. So that's what we're going to use. I know it's compatible with Dex Cool. So we're going to go ahead and, like I said, use that. Three gallons should be enough. But hopefully we don't have to get any more. We're going to go ahead and pop this cap. Make sure your engine is cold too. This might be a little pressure in here. So let's kind of slowly open this. All right. So we got that loose. And then I'm going to raise the truck up and see if there's any kind of a drain port underneath. Now, like I said, this is a ZR2. The other Colorados may be a little bit different. They don't have the brush or the guards underneath like this does. So I'm going to raise it up and take this guard off here to give me better access to the radiator, so I can see if there's any drain ports or anything, so I can keep from making a big mess. We've got it raised up now, and we're going to start removing these fasteners on this shield here. Looks like these are T40s. We've got one here, one there. Looks like there's one here also. And then these are 13s, I believe. Okay, so we'll take those out. And then none on the back here. Looks like that's a separate piece. So hopefully we'll take those fasteners out and this shield will come down. And then I did notice though, once this truck was up, let me get my light here. And hopefully, I might have to get another hose. But that hose right there is a little damp. So it's the same design as the one on top. I'm going to clean it up. I didn't notice anything on the ground from it. So hopefully that's not really leaking. We'll see. But I'm going to clean that hose up. But let's first get the shield off and see what we can see and see if there's a drain of some sort. So it looks like this here is slotted, so you don't have to take these all the way out. Just get them loose. And then the shield should come forward. So just keep that in mind. Do not have to remove these all the way in the back here. All right, you can see that I have the shield off, and I did notice here on the driver's side where I thought it was leaking. So if I look up, and you can see a little bit of antifreeze right there on the edge of that fan assembly. And then if you look really far up there, which you probably can't see, there's another drip. So that tells me that that upper hose, like I suspected, is leaking. Now this lower hose on the driver's side, it's dry. I don't see any other leaks anywhere else. Like I said, this hose here is a little damp. But I didn't see anything dripping yet. So that might be something we might keep an eye on. All right. And then also, you can see here, further up, there's our little petcock to drain the coolant. So that's good. We'll be able to open that up, drain some of the coolant out of there, and then we're going to flush the system and then put new coolant in there. So we're going to get a hose or something hooked up to that and get this draining. I didn't have a hose big enough, so I just took the chance of just opening it up. And as you can see, right now I've got it coming out. It's coming out fairly quick. So I'm going to let this drain for a little while. While we wait for that to drain yet, I'm going to look at the hose here. So this, like I said, this is an AC Delco. The hose is 86518091. All right, I've removed it out of the package here. Like I said, it's got a bracket here. I mean, it looks like you can disconnect it right here, but I'm going to go ahead and install the whole unit. All right. So that's strange here. Now this one here says 8651, 8090. That must be the aft hose. And then this is probably the unit number. So looks like it attaches somewhere in the center here. We'll have to find that attach point. Probably going to have to remove the air box on top. And then this back clamp looks like it's preloaded. So it looks like you just have to take that clamp off right there, and it should spring down and put enough force on it to hold the hose clamp. And then the front is the spring mechanism. Also, I've read in the forums that the big problem with these is that this inner O-ring here fails. And I've heard people just changing that. I don't know where you get that. I have not seen a parts breakdown that shows that piece separately. This comes in the new hose, but I have read online where people have just changed that and have fixed their leak. So can't tell you if that's, if it fixes it actually or not, but that's what I've been reading. So this is the new hose. Like I said, we're just waiting on the coolant to finish draining so I don't make a big mess. But I guess I could lower it actually and then start taking the air box and everything out at this point. So we're going to try to disconnect this, it's a MAP sensor, a mass airflow sensor here. And then we'll probably take the boot apart here, take these fasteners around this air box here and try to remove that. That should give us enough room here to where we can get access to this hose. This nut here is going to have to, or this bolt, looks like that's a 10. That's going to have to be removed. And then we'll see what happens here, see what kind of clearances we have. Or now on this, there's a safety tab. You'll have to pull back enough to release this connector, so don't break that. Little note here, it's got 3 fasteners here along this edge. Like I said, the boot here. So what you want to do is disconnect the boot first, kind of slide it back, and then you want to slide this thing towards the motor. So you're going to slide it this way and kind of out. The problem is you've got these air conditioning lines here right above the air box here, and they kind of interfere. So try not to manhandle these too much. Like I said, you're going to kind of lift this up, kind of like maybe move it up just a little bit and then pull it out, because you got to disengage these little fingers down here on this back side here. So these little fingers sit here. So when you go back together, you're going to have to push it forward underneath this line and slide it back, all right, and then slide it into the boot here, all right. So anyway, be careful with this. Don't stick your fingers in there. You'll break it, and then you'll be buying a new one. So anyway, we're going to hit and remove this at this time. Don't lose your 3 screws. All right, so now I'm going to take my 10 millimeter and then take this clamp off right here, all right? Take this all the way off. Like I said, don't drop this down in there. All right, there it is. This clamp should be loose. Yes, it is. All right. So now, to release this hose here, all right, so you're going to take, let me go get a pick, all right? So I've got the hose kind of moved out of the way now. You can see there's a little bolt there on the side of the alternator right here. This nut has to come off. This is the bracket that holds this hose in position. And then also, on this other side, there's a wire bundle that we're going to have to take loose. So we're going to take both those pieces loose, and then the center section will be free to move around. All right, so we're going to go ahead and remove this. It looks like it's a 10, and then we'll have to get something to release this harness over here. All right. All right, so I'm going to try to unhook this hose from underneath. It's kind of a pain to get to. You can kind of feel it. Really can't see it too well. But you can reach it from here. Like I said, I've got the ease of a lift. I know a lot of you guys aren't going to have that luxury. But if you can see this bolt right here, it's just inboard of that, and you can see the clamp there. You can feel it. They've got it on the bottom, which is kind of a pain. So, but I can feel it. Right, you can see my fingers right there. That's where it's at. All right, and now it's kind of a bad spot. It's a bad spot from the top also. So I'm going to try to take, I got some hose clamp pliers that I'm going to use to compress this, and then hopefully this thing will come right off. All right, so I've got these pliers here. These are made for hose clamps. They compress the clamp, but they can be a pain sometimes. They make different styles of these, but this is the style I have. They have a remote style. They're on a cable. They work pretty good, but especially if you got tight areas. So I'm going to see if I can get this on there, compress that clamp, and pull that hose off. It's out. So as you can see, everything looks the same. The clamps look the same. These clamps are the same. Like I said, this is the same. You're going to have to pull this out to get it to engage. Like I said, this one here, you can tell it's been leaking. This side here looks like it's a little deformed also. I don't know what's going on there. And then here's the other new hose. So like I said, you don't want to leave this on there, because you want that on there until you install it, because that's a bear. So once you get that installed, this is kind of clocked in a certain position, it looks like. So wasn't the easiest thing to slide out. I actually slid it out from the top. So I moved the hose forward towards the radiator, and kind of worked its way out. So like I said, it's not very easy. So I mean, you may be able to get it from underneath. I'm not sure, but this clamp here was what makes it kind of difficult. I guess you could take it off, but I'm going to leave it on. I'm not going to mess with it. So let me see if I can get this thing back into position and get everything hooked up. All right, so I've got it somewhat in position. You can see like the clamp down there on the alternator. I've got the bracket installed. There's a harness on this other side that you have to disconnect. I've got to hook that up yet. I've got the other end slid on. Like I said, it'd be hard to tell if I can get it right. So you see that yellow piece there? That is on the hose, so I'll have to release that. Just make sure your hose is on all the way. I believe there's a stop on the attach fitting, so you can tell when it's on all the way, it'll hit the stop. So now I just got to hook up this bolt here on this front clamp and slide this on. But before I do that, I'm going to clean up this fitting here and make sure it's nice and clean. There's no damage to it. So we don't have an issue with it here in the future. So I'm going to clean that up real quick. All right, so I've cleaned my area up here. What I did here, I took some new coolant and I kind of rubbed it around it to kind of give it like a lubricant of some sort. I don't want to use any kind of lubricant on it because I don't know if it'll affect the seal. So I used a new antifreeze. I kind of wiped it around there. Hopefully it kind of gives it enough to where it'll ease on. I don't, like I said, don't want to put the wrong thing on it and create another issue. So like I said, I cleaned it up, put a little antifreeze on it new, and then I'm going to slide this on, all right? All right, I've got it on there now. I didn't show you, but you should be able to force it on there. You should hear it click. When it clicks, it should be installed. So just make sure, you know, this ear, you can see this ear is right here. It's kind of behind this other hose, that it's retracted or it's extended. If it's retracted, it'd be against that stop here. So it's extended out. You can see that this end here is sitting on the hose assembly. So it tells me that this is seated. Okay, if this was not seated, it'd be cocked on there and you'd have a gap underneath it. But this thing here is flush. So that tells me that that is seated. So now I can go ahead and put my hardware on in here on this hose, and then I can put the hardware on down there by the alternator also, and then hook my wire harness back up on the other side of that bracket. And then I'm going to go below and see if I can pull that yellow piece off on the other end to make sure that that is secure. So you can see I have my nut secured now. on the side of the alternator here, right here. This is secure. Now the harness on this other side here, it's just a push fit. You should be able to take something and retract it. It's got like a little fir tree on there. Just push it on. It should be snug at that point. So this is all snug now. So all I need to do now is go at the bottom. And like I said, you see the yellow piece? I've got to remove that. Make sure the hose is flush, or where it needs to be. It's seated. All right? And then that should secure that in. And then we can start filling this, or put this back together and start filling it. All right? So I've removed this from the hose on the bottom connection. It's kind of on there, so you just kind of want to tug it. Like I said, I couldn't show you because it was kind of hidden up there, like pulling it away from the hose. Where this back, you want this back portion here to fall out first, and then the hose should snap into place. Okay, just make sure it's seated. We'll leak check it here in a minute. So now, since we still have this up in the air, I shut off my spigot there for my drain. That is closed now. Make sure that's secure or you'll have a leak. So I shut that off. So now really I'm done at this point. I can put this lower plate on at this time. I think I'll do that since I have it up in the air here, and then I can leave it on the ground once I've got that done. I can do the leak checks from all above. So we'll go ahead and install this shield on. We've got all of these secure now. These are T40s, and that's a 13 millimeter. So make sure you have all those secure and tight. Back two here, these two up front, and three in the center. All right, so that will secure that. And like I said, we can now lower it and continue to put the stuff back together on top, and then we can start servicing it. All right, so I've got the air cleaner back on. Don't forget your clamp here, your connector here, and then the safety. Push it in after it's secure. Yeah, your 3 screws around the perimeter. Don't forget those, and then make sure down here that your fingers are engaged in the bottom portion of the other housing. All right, make sure those are all engaged properly. It should fit nice and perfect whenever it's all engaged properly. Just watch this harness over here. It can kind of get in the way a little bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. And then that line right there, could be a little bit of a pain. So what we're going to do now, that completes all this. So we're going to get set up on servicing this thing. All right? We're getting to the point where we're going to service this coolant system. So I always use this coolant system test and refill kit. It's made by Maddox MH-1B. I've used this on numerous cars, mostly on Ferraris, Lamborghini, and a few other vehicles in the past. Works great. If you do this correctly, you should not need to bleed the system. Other than this will do your bleeding. Excellent tool. So I have the tool over there. It has a couple of different adapter sizes here. It has a universal adapter here if your filler neck is somewhat an odd size. But I take these inserts. I'll show you here. So we have an insert right here that comes in that kit. This one here is a 40 millimeter. So you would take this, fit it inside here, inside the reservoir. Should be snug in there. Stick that in there, and then you're going to take your tool here. All right. So this draws a vacuum on the system. You can leak check your system with a vacuum. This will do all that. So you would insert there. Sometimes I put a little bit of Vaseline or something on that to get it to slide down in there. This collar here tightens it and loosens it. It's all the way backed off now. I should be able to kind of force it in there. I mean, not really force it. Just kind of push it down in there. Don't force it too much or you'll break the reservoir here. So it's going to take 2 hands. I'm going to push that down in there. Once it gets down in there, I'm going to snug it up by turning this collar here. and then we'll pull a vacuum on it. We've got our tool installed. This hose here is your servicing hose, and then you're going to install air hose here to pull the vacuum. This closes the air source, and then this one here is opens, closes your fluid. So you want to keep this closed while you're drawing a vacuum on it. It's going to spew a little bit of air and fluid out. Not much fluid, but it will a little bit on this side. So if you want anything to get wet, you might want to put a rag or something over there. And then I'll have to hook up an air source here. And then we're going to draw this down to probably about 25 inches of mercury. It's usually the norm of what we've been getting here lately, give or take a little bit. I mean, system size may vary that, but that's usually where it kind of stalls out. When it gets to that point where it's not drawing more of a vacuum, just shut it off, shut this here, and then let it sit for a couple minutes and let it stabilize initially, and then once it stabilizes, it shouldn't drop anymore. So then at that point, you're doing your leak check portion of it, so it really shouldn't drop. Now, if it does drop, check your connections here. It may leak in here, but other than that, it should not drop. All right, we've got our hose hooked up. You can hear a little bit of an air leak, but that's where the connection is to the unit. We're not drawing any vacuum yet. Like I said, we have both valves here off. I've got the coolant hose on the side of the truck here. I'm going to submerge that in a bucket. All right, so what I'm going to do now is make sure you have a clean bucket, all right, like I do here, and we're going to pour all the fluid into that bucket. All right, like I said, I'm using the Xerox Ford Chrysler GM. Like I said, it's effective for this vehicle. So you can see I have 3 gallons in a bucket. Like I said, make sure your bucket is clean. This fluid here is the same as Dex Cool, so it's the same as the GM stuff. So if you're having questions about that, if you look up Xerox, the Zex, the Dex Cool comes up under this here. So I know some people will have questions that'll say, hey, it doesn't have Dex Cool on it or whatever, but this is an equivalent to that. All right. So I've got my fluid in here. It's ready to go. Just make sure it's clean, and I'm going to take it over to the car or truck. All right, I've got the pickup tube inside the fluid now. You want to make sure that the black end stays submerged the whole time. You don't want to get any air into the system. If for some reason you're servicing it and you get low on fluid and you need to put more fluid in there, just shut your valve off at the mechanism here. But anyway, what we're going to do now, we'll come back to this later. What we're going to do now is we're going to open the valve here and start pulling a vacuum on the system. Like I said, it's going to end up being about 25 inches of mercury, give or take a little bit. All right, you can see I've opened the valve and I'm drawing a vacuum on it. Now you may hear this air compressor turn on, but you're going to want this back valve closed, okay? The one that's going to your fill port, you got to keep that closed. Now if it doesn't start pulling a vacuum, you may have a leak. You may have to look for why it's not pulling a vacuum. You can see that we're pulling about 25 inches of mercury right there. I didn't show you the whole process because I had a few problems with the tool leaking. So it seems like it's stalled out right now at around 25. So what I'm going to do now is shut the air source off and let it sit for a few minutes and see if I've got any leaks. All right, looks like it's about 24 inches of mercury right now, and we're going to let it sit for a minute or two, and it should be stabilized there. If it does drop, you may have a leak, but we'll check this out in a few minutes and see where it's at. All right, you can see it's been a few minutes, and it looks like it's still the same. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open the port for the fluid, and like I said, once you do that, the pressure is going to decrease, the vacuum is going to decrease. to 0. And once it reaches 0, your system should be full. So, but like I said, you just got to make sure that the end of the hose stays submerged. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we're on the back side here. Like I said, it's kind of difficult to show you all this. But make sure your end of your hose stays submerged the whole time, okay? You don't want to get any air into the system. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slowly crack this side here with the fluid, all right? There it is. So the pressure should be dropping towards 0 as the fluid gets sucked into the system. Like I said, you want to keep this submerged. I'm sorry I can't show you the needle side because I'm paying attention to this fluid here. But anyway, just make sure this is submerged. Okay, the fluid is still continuing to be drawn. Like I said, the end looks good. Let's go see where our needle's at. Looks like we still have some pressure in the system, so it's drawing it in still. Like I said, once it reaches 0, your system will be done then. Looks like the needle has reached 0, so at this point it should be done drawing fluid into the system. I mean, you can see it's a little over-serviced. I wouldn't worry about that at this point. You still have to run the system, start it up, put your heater to full hot, blower full hot, and bleed the system at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. At this point, like I said, it's at 0. Once it reaches 0, it should be fully serviced. All right? I removed the equipment. I put the cap back on, secured it. I'm going to give it a once over here. Make sure my connections look good. Nothing in the way. I'm going to go ahead and start it up. And like I said, we're going to run this thing at full hot and fans on high. All right? And then we'll come back and leak check it while it's running. All right, we've got it started here. Let's turn this all the way hot, full hot, high, and then we're going to go ahead and hit max on the heat controls there. And then you should feel heat coming out eventually here. Now what we'll do is, while we're waiting for this to happen, we're going to go out and make sure we're not leaking anything. Alright, there's our upper hose. That looks like it's good. I don't see anything leaking there. Alright, and it drops down here. And then you have those connections, which we didn't mess with, right in the center there. And then you've got your other section down here, which I don't know if you can kind of you can see it. It's got the braiding on it right there. I don't see any fluid coming out of there at this time either. So I'm going to say that that's good. Poke my head down in there, you can still see it. I don't see any fluid or anything, so I'm pretty satisfied we don't have any leaks. All right. I'm going to go on this other side and make sure there's no leaks where the spigot was. So I don't see anything dripping on the ground at all, so I'm satisfied that that is good. Look underneath. I don't see any fluid on the ground. I have our coolant temp pulled up here on the left screen here. It's at 144 currently. So at 145. I don't feel any hot air as of yet. We're up to 147. Right, we just took it for a little spin. We finally got the heat to start flowing when we drove it. It was taking a little bit while for it to flow through the system correctly, but as soon as we started driving it, the heat started building up. You could feel hot air coming out of all the vents. I messed with the different zones. I put one on low, the other one on high, vice versa. That all seemed to work correctly. You can see our coolant temp is sitting at like 198, 196. It's varying, 200 and a little bit less, 190 to 200. You can hear the fans running right now. So everything is operating correctly. I didn't see any leaks earlier. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull it back up and put it on the lift. Check everything over once more time and make sure we don't have any leaks, and then finish this up. I mean, we're almost done right now. Right, we've got it back on the lift here. Checking out this front hose. Looks pretty dry to me. Our coolant tank reservoir is just a little over serviced. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to let it run a few weeks because it may have a little bit of air in the system. So make sure I have enough fluid in there. As far as I can tell, everything else is dry there. Everything looks good. The back looks good, nice and dry. I don't see anything dripping or anything. So I'm assuming that everything is good, nice and tight. And let's look underneath, make sure we have nothing dripping underneath. Like I said, we had this drain open over on this side. I don't see anything underneath. There's no fluid on the ground. I do see a little bit back there. That's from the AC. That's not from the cooling system. As you can see it dripping. That's, like I said, that's from the air conditioning compressor. So that's normal. I don't see anything on any of these plates here. So I'm going to call it good. Just want to tell everybody, thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps out. Tomorrow we're going to make another video. We're going to be changing the front brake rotors, pads, and the wear sensor. So hopefully we're going to reset that system, get that system functioning again, get rid of the errors. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.